ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT Broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර data සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Good evening. Tonight, countering allegations. Sri Lanka responds to accusations in Geneva. Lobbying begins. Collecting signatories for the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister commences. Legal challenge. Petition against the Judicator Amendment draft bill taken up in court. End of a wait. Names of members elected to local authorities gazetted. And grit. Sri Lanka recovers from a wobbly start to rally against Bangladesh in the Nidhas Trophy decider. It's 9 o'clock on the dot. From wherever you are in the world, welcome to First at 9, Derana's premier English news bulletin. Hello everyone, I'm Mahesh Johnny. Tonight, later on in the show, we will introduce you to a person who literally has no jaw, yet sings the most beautiful songs. But first, we want to take you straight to Geneva and to the UNHRC. The co-chairman of the Global Sri Lanka Forum alleges that the General Assembly of the United Nations is attempting to punish an army that safeguarded human rights of a country. He was speaking at the 37th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council on non-governmental organizations.
Sri Lanka, we experienced the most brutal form of terrorism of LTT. A few days after we defeated it, the UN passed the resolution freezing the government and condemning the LTT for using human shield. But now there is a resolution against us. It started when the UN Secretary General appointed the panel of experts to appraise him regarding the war crimes in Sri Lanka. The UN Charter prohibits the UNSG to intervene into domestic affairs of any country. Hence, the UNSG has violated his own rules. So, however, can sovereign state forced to abide by resolution drafted based on this the report. Human rights bodies are there to protect the human rights of people. But here we find they are using the penalized forces who defeated the human rights violators.
At the end of the civil war in Sri Lanka, 330,000 Tamils were rendered homeless and put into barbed wire camps. After 3 years, the camps were closed and the large number of Tamils were allowed to return to their homes. The Sri Lankan armed forces still control thousands of acres of land. The last month, the government issued a public notice stating that approximately 520 acres of land in Kapopalavu are required for the public purpose. The land belonging to the civilians cannot be forcefully be taken away against the will of the people. It is not just the land that the people of Kapopalavu want. They want their history, culture and tradition which is present in their traditional homeland. Unless the international community and UN forces Sri Lankan government to return their civilian land, the non-violent struggle for justice to the Tamils will continue.
In the meantime, convening a media briefing following the session, the Global Sri Lankan Forum, Federation of National Organizations and the Professionals Association for a Better Future said they will initiate legal measures against the United Nations Human Rights Council.
We hope to take legal measures against UNHRC. We have already commenced work with advice from a large pool of lawyers including Jeffrey Nice, a UK barrister. They brought the resolution 30/1 breaching all UN fundamentals. The pitiful state is that it was Minister Mangala Samaravira who approved this.
Now here at home, lobbying to collect signatures for the no-confidence motion to be brought against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe based on 14 factors commenced in Parliament today. Parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa said that around 30 parliamentarians have signed the no-confidence motion so far.
12 out of the 14 factors mentioned in the no-confidence motion that is to be brought against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe are related to the bond scam at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In the no-confidence motion, the Prime Minister is alleged to have taken the central bank under his purview against convention with the intention of committing the bond scam, appointing a foreign citizen Arjuna Mahendran with conflict of interest as the governor of the central bank, the appointment of the Pitipana committee to save the culprits in the bond scam, which consisted of his political acquaintances, and aiding Arjuna Mahendran evade court. In addition, the Premier is alleged to have created an economic crisis over the last 3 years and had harmed the reputation of Sri Lanka on a global platform by failing to take prompt action to provide security during the Kandy unrest, which he held the ministerial portfolio of law and order. Around 30 parliamentarians of the joint opposition, including Dinesh Gunawardena, Vasudeva Nanayakkara, Vimal Veerawansa, Udayagammanpila, Dallas Alahapperuma, Bandula Gunawardena and Mahindananda Alutgamage have signed the no-confidence motion thus far.
Now, politicians of both the ruling party and the opposition expressed views on the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. Around 30 have so far signed the motion. We hope to collect all necessary signatures during the next few days and hand it over to the Speaker. A group of parliamentarians representing the government you wouldn't even imagine will vote in favour of the no-confidence motion against Prime Minister. It includes members of both UNP and SLFP. The law says Prime Minister should have the supreme confidence of the House. If a no-confidence motion is presented, then he will have to prove to the President that he commands majority confidence. There can be those who are against the Prime Minister, but they will never get together with the joint opposition to vote against the Prime Minister. The UNP, I know, will never do that. UNP is ready to face any no-confidence motion. This one too will have the fate of previous motions.
මං හිතන්නේ මෙහෙම කිව්වොත් හොඳයි කියලා රටේ ආණ්ඩුවට හරි ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් නැහැ.
More on the no-confidence motion, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that it is the opportune moment to table a no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe as the country is enveloped in crisis. He made these remarks speaking to reporters following an event in Maharagama today.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa presided over the opening ceremony of a shopping complex in Maharagama today. Parliamentarians Dinesh Gunawardena, Dallas Alahapperuma and Bandula Gunawardena, as well as Chief Minister of the Western Province Isura Devapriya, were also present at the occasion.
This is how the government operates in order to make the people forget issues such as rising cost of living. People are finding it difficult to survive at the moment in face of instability and the depreciating rupee against the US dollar.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, the petition filed by parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena and Professor G.L. Pires against amendments to the Judicature Act No. 2 of 1978 was taken up before a Supreme Court today. Making submissions in court, it was said that establishing a separate High Court to try special cases would be in conflict with the Constitution, and it may provide an opportunity for certain individuals to seek revenge against those who are selected to stand trial in these courts.
On the 6th of March, Minister of Justice Thalthattu Korala tabled the Judicature Amendment Draft Bill to propose amendments for several articles of Act No. 2 of 1978 before Parliament. According to the draft bill, a permanent 3-member judge bench of the High Court appointed by the Judicial Service Commission has the power to examine cases which stands trial in these courts. Although the Minister of Justice has the power to call for the area in which the court is to be established, it has to be done following a consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. It also proposes that the power to prosecute after filing charge sheets at these courts be granted to the Attorney General and the Director General of the Commission to investigate bribery or corruption. Furthermore, it states that this court be vested with the power to deliberate cases pertaining to offences mentioned in the draft bill committed by any persons in or outside Sri Lanka. Amongst these offences listed are theft, property fraud, breach of trust and money laundering. Leader of the Mahajana Eksat Perumuna, MP Dinesh Gunawardena, and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna, Professor G.L. Pires states that according to the Act, the Director General of the Commission to investigate bribery or corruption would be allowed to directly file cases which they say is in conflict with the Constitution. Therefore, a petition was filed at the Supreme Court against the proposed amendments recently. This petition was taken up before a 3-member judge bench comprising of Supreme Court judges Priyasad Dep, Bhuvanekalu Vihare and Nalin Pereira. Attorneys representing the petitioner stated that the proposed draft bill vests the subject minister with the power to establish special high courts, highlighting that selected offences committed by selected people will be examined at the proposed special high courts. Establishing such would be unconstitutional. They also noted that this would pave way to exact revenge from selected people. Meanwhile, 11 petitions were put forward before the Supreme Court seeking permission to intervene against the petitions filed against the Judicature Amendment Draft Bill. The petitioners include State Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva, Eran Wickramaratne, Ajit P. Pereira, Deputy Minister Karunaratne Paranivithana and Minister Partli Champik Ranawaka. Furthermore, petitions were also filed by civil activists Professor Sarath Wijesurya, Saman Ratnapriya, Jayadevu Yangoda, K.W. Janaranjana, Gamini Viyangoda and Sarath Premachandra. Considering submissions made in court today, the three-judge bench decided to postpone the case until the 19th of this month to further examine the petitions. Meanwhile, the Attorney General's presentation and submission of those who filed the 11 petitions countering those who were against the draft bill will also be heard.
Justice Aluvihare's committee did a study, and in the study it was determined that since you committed a crime, till allegations are brought forward, it takes about 4.7 years. And then the hearing on average takes 1.8 years, altogether approximately 10.2 years for a court process to be completed. There are also appeal processes in the appeals court and in the Supreme Court. That takes another 7 years, altogether 17 years. This must stop. That is why this amendment has been brought forward. This is not a politically motivated amendment. This amendment is to make sure that justice is being done and the justice process is taken forward substantially and quickly. And therefore, we will pursue this until the public are protected.
Do you see the obstacles we are facing in order to introduce this? This is a country that is under the control of thieves. We will be taking this matter up once again on Monday and Tuesday. Once we get the decision by the Supreme Court, the Parliament can then pass the bill. This is done with a motive to seek revenge, as there is no trust in the judicial system. We see this as an act that is done to get the law into their hands so they can use it in a manner that they wish. This is what we are challenging.
Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda highlights the united conduct of all ethnicities as a paramount factor in strengthening reconciliation. He touched on the subject yesterday attending the annual prize giving of Ananda College in Colombo.
The annual prize giving of Ananda College, Colombo was held under the auspices of Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda yesterday.
Sri Lanka is simply a country that comprises of multiracial, multi-religious and multilingual citizens. Just because Sri Lanka is a singular Buddhist country, should we condemn citizens of other races and religions? Should we portray criminal behavior towards their virtues? Should we oppress them by humiliating them, or should we give our fellow communities an equal opportunity, safeguarding our identity and community and our country? The time has come for us to think whether we want to lead a peaceful life or not.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe expresses readiness to rectify the mistakes in accordance with the results of the recent local authorities election and forge ahead. The Premier elaborated on the future course while addressing an event in Kergol yesterday.
The newly built gold fence and the bell tower at the Dumunupola Anandarama temple, funded by a businessman from Kadawatha, was unveiled under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday.
People voted against us for not fulfilling the promises we made. The cost of living became higher than expected and there was a scarcity of fertilizer. It is a sign to the government. We should correct ourselves in line with public stance. We should consider the requests of the people and move forward. Politics is not a tug of war between 2 or 3 parties. We should look into ways of serving the public. Now we are here to correct our mistakes and move ahead. It's been a month since the recent election and we also faced the unrest in Teldenia, and now we should move forward. We will bring investors and create job opportunities in the country. We will establish various industries and other services during this year. We will succeed if we continue this for 2-3 years.
Devotees selected for the program Dhammadiva Vandana, organised by FM Derana under its 4th phase, reached the Gijakuta Rock today. They concluded their visit to Bodh Gaya in Bihar province after engaging in religious observances at the Sri Mahabodhi. After arriving at the Gijakuta Rock, devotees engaged in religious observances at the rock cave where Lord Buddha is believed to have graced, as well as the Sama Mahachaitya at its summit. The fifth phase of FM Derana Dambadiva Vandana is now in progress. The Fourth Magistrates Court today issued an open warrant for the arrest of former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Dr. Udayanga Weerathunga. Fourth Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne also ordered the warrant to be issued in English since it has to be sent to Interpol. Now with that, let's take a look at some other stories from across Sri Lanka.
Government Medical Faculty Students Parents Union today lodged a complaint at the main office of Sri Lanka Police in Colombo against the move to sell the Neville Fernando Hospital, which was taken over by the government. The Government Surveyors Association today commenced a protest march from the Fort Railway Station in Colombo over several issues, including the transfer of the Department of Survey to a US company. The protesters made their way towards the Presidential Secretariat, resulting in the police closing Lotus Road. They later demonstrated in front of temple trees. 2 children aged 5 and 7 lost their lives as they fell into an irrigation well in the area of Uppukulam in Mannar. A fire erupted at an apartment on level 5 of the Sirisara Uyana apartment complex last night. The blaze got hold of the flat at around 8:45 p.m, dealing heavy damage to the property.
Before we go in for a break, the names of the members elected to local authorities in 10 districts has been gazetted. The members elected each ward at the recent local authorities election for the Hambantota, Kilinochi, Matara, Putlam, Munragara, Anuradhapura, Kratnapura, Kalutara, Mathale and Polonnaruwa districts have been released. Government printer Gangani Kalpana said that the gazette containing local authority members of the rest of the 15 districts could be issued later. With that, let's take a short commercial break. Stay with us.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to business news now. Minister of Special Assignment Dr. Sarath Amunugama says that Sri Lanka must embark on a mission to become a printing hub. He was speaking at the inauguration of Sri Lanka Print 2018 exhibition in Colombo today. The minister emphasized that training and technology should be improved, while the banking sector should be geared up to fund the sector in order to improve the printing industry in Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka Print 2018 was launched at the Colombo Exhibition and Convention Centre and will run until the 18th of this month under the tagline of Going Global. The print industry contributed to the economy by reaching $200 million by way of exports.
We have to modernize, because today the government is running this whole printing department, printing corporation and the government press simply to print textbooks. And the private sector today can easily meet that demand. So I think, I don't know which ministry is in charge of that. They should take a good hard look at government orders for printing and not waste money in these antiquated white elephants. I don't think we need in this modern world the government to get involved in printing.
The minister also went on to elaborate on steps that should be taken to develop the print industry.
Sri Lanka can easily become a printing hub because we have the personnel. So I'm thinking of 3 matters. The first, of course, deals with technology. You need new technology because this is a field where changes are taking place all the time. And if we don't move to that new technology, somebody else will. And we will not be able to compete on the cost of production if we don't move to new technology. So I would like to recommend to government that we should have a tax system where we can incentivize the private sector which wants to invest in modern technology.
Well, oil prices were set to fall this week despite a slight gain in both benchmarks yesterday on concerns among investors about rising supply from the US and elsewhere. Meanwhile, the International Energy Agency said the global oil supply increased last month by 700,000 barrels per day from a year ago to 97.9 million barrels per day.
West Texas Intermediate oil futures for April delivery had risen 5 cents to $61.24 a barrel. WTI was set to fall 1.3% this week, reversing the previous week's 1.3% gain. Brent crude futures trading in London climbed 6% to $65.18 a barrel after settling up 23 cents. Brent was down 0.5% for the week. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 edged 0.08% lower yesterday, marking its first four-day losing streak of 2018. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.2%. European stock futures point to a weaker start in Europe, with futures of Britain's FTSE and France's CAC down 0.1%. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan slipped 0.2% in early trade. Japan's Nikkei was down 0.6%. In the currency market, rising risk aversion pushed the dollar against the safe haven yen to 105.94 yen, down 0.4%. The euro was little changed at $1.23, having slipped 0.5% the previous day.
At the stock market, Colombo equities concluded the week's operation in green today, supported by foreign inflows. ASPI gained 8.47 points to close at 6,509.46, while the S&P SL20 index closed up at 3,679.93, up by 13.58 index points. Market turnover was 82.5 million rupees, supported by foreign inflows of 112 million rupees. Now, foreign investor activity accounted for 63% of the market. Now, here is a look at how the equities performed during the trading week with Stefan Dialvis.
During the week, ASPI lost 0.6%. Meanwhile, S&P SL20 also decreased by 0.5% for the week. The average daily turnover for the week was up from last week to 1.2 billion rupees. Furthermore, foreigners remained active during the week, closing as net buyers, with foreign purchases accounting for 47% of the total weekly turnover. A net foreign inflow of nearly 1 million rupees was recorded for the week. This resulted in the year-to-date net foreign inflow to decrease to 7.1 billion rupees.
Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
International news now. The White House said yesterday that President Donald Trump's administration will maintain tough policies against Russia until Moscow changes its behavior. The comments comes amid Russia being entangled in a diplomatic row with the UK over poisoning of a former spy in southern England. This resulted in UK expelling Russian diplomats and Russia vowing to do the same. Meanwhile, the leaders of France, Germany, the US and UK have issued a joint statement on the issue, saying Russian responsibility was the only plausible explanation.
In simple terms, is Putin a friend or a foe of the United States?
I think that's something that Russia is going to have to make that determination. They're going to have to decide whether or not they want to be a good actor or a bad actor. I think you can see from the actions that we've taken up until this point, we're going to be tough on Russia until they decide to change their behavior.
Earlier in the day, Washington slapped sanctions on Russian individuals and entities for alleged US election meddling and cyber attacks, but put off targeting oligarchs and government officials close to Putin, prompting US lawmakers in both parties to say Trump needs to do much more. Also during the briefing, Sanders declined to comment on a New York Times report that US Special Counsel Robert Mueller has subpoenaed the Trump Organization for documents, including some related to Russia, and referred questions to the Trump Organization.
From a bridge collapse in the US to the war in Syria, here's a look at stories making headlines across the world right now.
At least 6 people are killed after a newly erected pedestrian bridge spanning several lanes of traffic collapsed at Florida International University yesterday. At least 8 vehicles were trapped and at least 10 people were taken to hospitals. Thousands of Brazilians poured into the streets of Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo today to protest the killing of a 38-year-old Rio Council woman, Marielle Franco. She was killed along with her driver on Rio's dangerous north side around 9:30 p.m. last night. Libya's Coast Guard rescued 100 African migrants yesterday from their sinking dinghy at sea. The migrants, the majority of whom are women and children, are mostly from Eritrea and Somalia. The iconic Eiffel Tower was transformed into a unique racecourse yesterday as athletes dashed to the top of the world's most visited monument to compete in Paris's annual vertical race. Now in its fourth edition, the La Verticale de la Tour Eiffel competition featured 129 runners from 5 continents, including 40 professional athletes. This year, both men's and women's defending champions won the event, with both winning the race for the 4th consecutive year. The Turkish bombardment in Syria's Afrin region has pushed around 10,000 people to flee their homes since yesterday. Video obtained by Reuters showed hundreds of people walking in cars and in the back of tractors and trucks traveling towards Al-Ham mountain in southeast Afrin.
Sports now. Former Sri Lankan cricket captain Mahela Jayawardena brushed off any suggestions that his retirement along with Kumar Sangakkara's came at the wrong time. He was responding to a question at a forum in Colombo yesterday.
Former Sri Lanka cricket captain Mahela Jayawardena participated in the Change Forum 2018 along with the Group Chief Operating Officer of Dialog Asiata, Vena Deutschmann, in Colombo yesterday.
Ever since you and Kumar retired, Sri Lankan cricket has changed a lot. Do you think you retired at the right time?
Definitely, yes. I think there were few things that we had to decide at that particular time, and the age, the body, he was telling you a different story. The next World Cup is next year, so that's 4 years away from where we stopped, and we knew that we couldn't be physically or mentally right for that World Cup, so we needed to give the team time to develop. And obviously Kumar stayed a year longer so that the transition was smoother. What you have to realize is the changes that needed to be made with the national team.
The match that decides who takes on India in the final of the Nidahas Trophy on Sunday is currently underway between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh at the R. Premadasa Stadium. Sri Lanka set Bangladesh a target of 160 for victory. Bangladesh won the toss and put Sri Lanka into bat first. The innings didn't get off the best of starts and the hosts soon found themselves on 41 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. Then came the recovery in a form of a partnership between Kushal Perera and Tisar Perera. The duo put on 97 runs for the 6th wicket to help Sri Lanka finish on 159 for 7. Kushal Perera posted a 40-ball 61 while Tisara made an impressive 58 of 37 deliveries. While chasing 160, Bangladesh was on 170 for the loss of 2 wickets short while ago.
Crossed on that is Tisara Perera, who goes high and just over the...
Nevertheless, it's been a wonderful 50s first.
Well, let me correct that. It's 71 for 2 just a short while ago.
A bit of a juggle. Is that a wicket? Yes! First one down. Well ball, fumble, but in the nick of time, removes the bails.
More cricket. Richmond College of Gaul took on Mahinda College today in their 113th Lovers' Quarrel, while St. Anthony's College took on Trinity College in their 101st Hill Country Battle of the Blues. In the meanwhile, the DS Senanayake College locked horn with Mahanama College in Colombo in their 12th Battle of the Goals.
Dubbed the 113th Lovers' Quarrel, Gaul's Richmond College took on Mahinda College at the Gaul International Stadium today. Being invited to bat first, Richmond College scored 170 all-out in their first innings. Pasan Petangoda clinched 4 wickets for Mahinda College, giving 46 runs away. Launching their first innings, Mahinda College could only score 70 for the loss of 3 at the end of the day's play. The 101st Hill Country Battle of the Blues between Trinity College and St. Anthony's College began at the Asgiri Stadium today. Being invited to bat first, St. Anthony's College wrapped up their first innings for a total of 115. Trinitians Tisaru Dilshan and Rubin Piris got 4 and 3 scalps respectively. In their first innings, Trinity College were 150 for 5 at stumps. DS Senanayake College and Mahanama College locked horns in the 12th Battle of the Goals at the Pisara Oval in Colombo today. Electing to bat first, DS Senanayake College were all out for 156. Sinal Chandrasekhara was the highest contributor for DS with his knock of 56. Heshan Hettiarachchi was the pick of the bowlers with 4 for 49. Launching their first innings, Mahanama College were 83 for 3 at stumps.
Well, time to end this working week on a high note. For that, let's take a look at our good story of the week. This week's story comes from Phoenix, the capital of most populous city of the U.S. state of Arizona. This is where we meet Isaiah Acosta, who was born without a jaw and therefore lost the ability to speak or eat. Destiny, however, played a part, turning Isaiah into a songwriter who spends his time penning lyrics he won't ever be able to verbalize. 17-year-old Isaiah Acosta was born without a jaw and is mute due to a condition called situs inversus. Despite his inability to speak, Acosta just dropped his first record thanks to the assistance of the rapper Trap House. Well, that is a part of your world tonight right here on Derana 24/7. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Enjoy the weekend. Good night.